Good morning. Happy Easter. And a good Passover to you, those who are celebrating as well on this final day of Passover. Welcome to Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Fullerton. I'm Reverend Rob, whoever you are, however you identify, whether you join us in person or online, you are welcome and celebrated here. UUCF acknowledges that this land is physically situated in the original ancestral homelands of the Ahachimen, Kizh, and Tongva peoples. May we have the humility and courage to help restore what has been broken and the wisdom to live into a new solidarity with indigenous communities and the earth. Before we begin our service this morning, I'd like to call your attention to a few brief announcements. After today's service, the kids will have a canned food hunt. During. Not after. Okay. Kiddos, you're not going to have to listen to my sermon. You get to do some stuff with the canned food hunt, and I have an Easter basket for the kiddos, so you'll get some candy and stuff, right? Okay? And I invited you to wear your Easter bonnets, and it's good to see all genders wearing Easter bonnets today. Looking nice. So we will be awarding those prizes in the Chapman Lounge after service today. We hope you'll help plant a new community garden. That's coming up on Saturday at 9:30. It's part of Love Fullerton, a community-wide day of service. Details are on your screen. There's the website, lovefullerton.org. There has been talk of starting a new women's group. If you would like to participate, all you have to do is fill out our online interest questionnaire at uufullerton.org/women. On Sunday, May 18th, the Fullerton Crop Hunger Walk returns. Our UUCF team leaders are Shelby Harris and Claudia Trifa. They can help you sign up for the walk or to sponsor one of your walkers. Now we welcome Rebecca Duell Gallegos to update us on our pledge drive campaign, and it looks like there's more red on the thermometer, which is always good news.
Good morning and happy Easter. I hope the bunny was good to you this morning. I am Rebecca Duell Gallegos. I am your pledge drive master of ceremonies for this month. There are some new or possibly old but returning faces out there, so in case you are unfamiliar, in the month of April we do our annual pledge drive, raising funds to keep this church running for the rest of the year. I have a very exciting update this morning, so I'm going to bring up my helper, Josephine. She's going to come up right about there, Josie. With our pledge drive thermometer, as you can see, since the pledge drive kicked off 2 weeks ago, you all have pledged $98,820, which, hooray! That puts us almost halfway to our goal of $200,000. This number was actually a lot less earlier in the week. So I want to thank our Pledge Drive Committee and our visiting stewards for the big push to get that number where it is this morning. And of course, a huge thank you to everyone who has pledged so far this month for your generosity. It is wonderful to see our community come together in a shared goal, especially because that goal isn't just about raising money. We are ensuring this congregation's future. We are supporting our staff. We are creating this space for ourselves and the broader community at a time when I think we all really need it. So good job, everybody. With that said, we still have over halfway to go to meet our goal of $200,000. So please keep those pledge cards coming in if you haven't turned yours in already. I am also happy to announce that our online option for pledging is up and running. An email went out this week with the link, which if you missed it, is uufullerton.org/pledge. If you haven't heard from a visiting steward or you just want to get that pledge in as soon as possible, you can go to the link and it will walk you through a very simple Google form to either pledge online or to request a paper packet. So once again, that's uufullerton.org/pledge. I feel like an NPR host right now. Please do not change the station. On our fellowship dinner, as a reminder, will be Saturday, May 3rd at 6 p.m. in the social hall over there. And this will be a catered event by Blake's Barbecue. We will have some entertainment provided by the magical Reverend Rob, is what I have heard. And also possibly, I have heard a rumor of maybe some musical entertainment as well. Next week, we will be sending around a sign-up sheet that is for RSVP only. Since it's catered, we don't need anybody to bring anything, but we would like to get an idea of who's coming. So look for that next week. And thank you all again. I can't wait to see what our thermometer looks like next week.
I've heard from some in the board saying that the second half, between 100,000 and 200,000, is harder to get to, so we really need your support and your help over the next couple of days and weeks. We'll be sharing our joys and sorrows a little bit later in the service, so if you're in the sanctuary and you'd like to share, the pink slips are the back tables right there. You can fill them out up to the end of Time for All Ages. If you are joining us online, I invite you to post your joy or sorrow in the comments section, as well as saying hello and where you are tuning in from. And now, those of you in the sanctuary are welcome to take a moment and greet each other. Okay, so since it's a holiday, you got about an extra 2 minutes, but we got to get moving now.
Good morning, everybody. Oh, good morning. Can you guys hear me okay? Excellent. I am loving the bonnets and the hats and the colors. All right, well, for our opening hymn, we'll be singing hymn number 61, Lo, the Earth Awakes Again. Please rise in mind, body, or spirit and join us in singing.
You can tell someone from like Michigan or somewhere cold wrote that song, those lyrics. As an Indiana boy, I can relate. All right. For the chalice lighting this morning, we'll be reading for holy days on which we recall the old stories. For holy days on which we recall the old stories, we light the flame. For Passover, which reminds us of the courage and strength of those seeking freedom in the past, we light the flame. For Easter, which reminds us that love is our greatest challenge, we light the flame. For gathering today in this sacred space, we light the flame. For the opportunity to be together as a community, to remember the past, to be in the present, to plan for our future. I now invite our worship associate, Kyra Keener, to light the chalice. Now please join me in saying our unison affirmation on the screen. This flame affirms the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment. Love is the doctrine that we share. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve human need. Thus do we covenant with one another.
It is our custom to provide donations of non-perishable food and personal care items to Pathways of Hope, a local food bank. Please check the dates on your items because we are unable to donate any items that have expired dates on them. As the children come forward, they are asked to collect the donations placed at the end of the rows. And now the children are invited to come forward for the time for all ages.
From you I sing, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I sing, to you I give, together we share, and from this
Hello, hello. Oh, I'm up. Bye. All right, good morning. Oh my gosh, there's so many people here. I love it. Hello, my name is Megan Watson. I am the teen coordinator here at UUCF. And, oh, Josie, apparently you're doing this with me. No, I didn't know that either. I don't know why your name's up there, but that's fun. You could hang out with me, sure. Come on. Hang out with me. I like your shoes. Okay. Yeah, I think that's maybe from last time, but that's okay. You can be part of this. Yay. And this is Joy Ellis, who is our children's RE instructor. Who here knows that life is not fair? Raise your hand if you've ever experienced. Adults, how do we feel? Life, is it fair? That's not fair. I see it. All right, we know this. We get it. We understand life is not fair, and I don't really think it's ever been, but what can we do? We generally just shrug and accept it. It's just not fair. But there was once a man who refused to just shrug off the injustices of the world. Life was not fair, but that was not okay with him. This man was a great and wise teacher and also a prophet. Millions of people around the world are inspired by his teachings. His name was Jesus. And Jesus stood up and spoke out and fought for fairness and for justice. In fact, he said something about this which is quite curious to me. He said, "The last shall be first, and the first shall be last." The last shall be first, and the first shall be last. What? Okay, so there's several meanings to this, but I've got an idea of one way that we might understand it. We might understand it if we can think of what it feels like to be first and what it feels like to be last. Josie, help me understand what it feels like to be first. Have you ever had an experience where you were the best at something, or you're number one, or you came out on top? Kind of. How did you feel?
I felt happy.
Awesome.
Forever.
Oh, didn't last forever. Anyone else? What did you feel when you were the best at something, and you crushed it? You were just yes. Anyone else? What did it feel like? You felt glad? Proud. Ooh, I like that. You felt proud of yourself. I like that. All right, well, what about if you came in last? What does it feel like if you didn't do good, or maybe you had the least of something, or things didn't turn out your way? What did it feel like? Felt sad and unhappy? Any other feelings when we didn't come in first, or we didn't get what we wanted? I was I don't know if you're raising your hand or just holding the bunny up. Oh, okay. Do you have some? Okay. All right. So, thank you for sharing your feelings about coming in first and last. You see, I think that fairness and justice might have a chance if people who know what it feels like to be first, because they've been first so much that they're very familiar with it, if these people can come to understand what it feels like, really feels like, to be last. And I think the world might start to become a little more fair and balanced for everyone if the people who already know too well what it feels like to be last, because they are so often the last, they are so often at the bottom and have the least, if these people can come to know what it feels like for a change to actually come out on top, to be first for a change. I can imagine that if those who are usually last and those who are usually first could share the feelings and their experiences with one another, that each might begin to experience a transformation. I believe that when we can share our feelings with one another in a way that is safe, and when we can listen to one another and trust and with compassion, then we can begin to transform one another on the inside. When these different experiences can touch, then change can occur. And we can start to change on the inside. We will begin to act differently in the world. We will act more and more and more for justice. Jesus believed that a just society was possible. It would, he taught us, create heaven right here on earth. Heaven on earth. Now, isn't that worth living for? All right, let's go hunt some cans.
Go with wisdom, go with wonder, go to create a brand new day. Learn to see the light within you as we send you on your way. Go with wisdom, go with wonder, go to create a brand new day. Learn to see the light within you as we send you on your way.
I guess my name's up there. I'm Jeff Greenman. A bit of a disclaimer. I was actually raised in a UU church, and I've been in a few since then. Today, in homage to my early days and to my mom and dad, I dressed well, except for my shoes. Okay, yeah, they're good. Sorrow shared is half sorrow. Joy shared is double joy. When I accepted this assignment, my testimonial, why would we give treasure and time for our fair ship of state, the UCF? I thought for a second. There, at the meeting of pledge stewards, which was where I was and where I had gotten the assignment, I looked around me, seeing Leslie Mahaffey, Debbie Langenbacher, Mary Botts, Jody Balloon, Barry Bareshi, there are others, Sean, more people than I can remember, and I thought, and Mark, and there's people here that have given, decades of their time and support, just unendingly. And I realized that's my material for this. It's people. It's you, it's them. So when we talk about stuff, there's things that I do and I've been involved in here, including the choir, and that's Judy, who we were just over chomping on the chimes with over there. And, Judy is so steady and cheerful and has been for years. I've known her, with her in choir. And also remembering just the people, and people that I sang with back then who are still around, Thomas Contreras, Dennis Spiro, a whole bunch of other people. And I need to do a bit of another disclaimer here that if you hear names and you don't hear yours, please write yours in, because this is about everybody. For me, that's what we're about. The other things are just music, great special music events that we've done here. I think we have one coming up in May. And of course, Christine, wonderful pianist and improviser, from my point of view. And also, thinking of Judy, and she just actually mentioned it to me, we've done something called the Sunshine Singers, where we go and sing. A group of people gets together, goes to sing at people that are either shut-ins or in assisted living somewhere. And those have been tremendous events. But the people, a lot of times I remember leaving those with some of the people there in tears and me in tears, because it meant so much to them, And of course, we want to donate our time and treasure for days and nights and times at the Bentonville Pines. That is a place that I love. There's hikes to Jenks Lake or up to Campside Mountain, but it's really about seeing and really talking with someone. You may not see that often at the congregation, but then right there in front of you at a table is a newfound friend from UCF. Find out about him or her. It's maybe someone you know but never had time to chat with on a Sunday. And then there's the usual suspects, just people that I know I've gone up with, I've gone on work weekends with. Gordon Lillibridge, who can sometimes talk about obscure mathematical principles or investment strategies. Or there's Chris Heaton. To me, there's Bill Nye, but for me, Chris is the science deacon. not the science guy. And Dale Botts, also, who's so knowledgeable about Bentonville, that I one time had this conversation with him about all the obscure federal and local regulations that pertain to it. But it's all those people that I think about when I'm here and when I think about making a donation, my time and treasure. It's a treasure trove of humanity, and that's why I donate. Also, donate your time and treasure because of the chalice groups, Soul Matters, the writing groups. You opens oneself up to the possibilities of the spirit and the difficulties of life and sharing in the listening. But for me, it's really hanging out with Ellie and her story of a solo trip to the mountains, somewhat scary to her. And there's the great sublime description by Grant of a day from sunrise to sunset. And Christina, her journey from a fixed home duties to spend a long weekend with her soul sister and brother, jugglers. Their thoughts and their brilliance, there's the joy. Double joy in the listening, halved heartache in the sharing. Donate time and treasure for circle suppers. Recently, I was at Jerry and Linda Duarte Wolf's, and I learned that I donate because of their kindness and generosity and hospitality, great food, great conversation with some people you know and some people you've never met. Discussions range from trans kids in schools in California, Jerry's remarkable recovery from cancer, and you know who. So there's the stuff of our own church, the events, and I realized it's not about all the stuff. It's about the people. It's the individuals that we meet and mean so much to us, change our lives, care for us. They're brilliant and they care, and so are you. So please donate and be generous. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. It is now time for our joys and our sorrows. Those joining us online are invited to share in all caps a joy or sorrow in the comment section. Kyra is here to light a candle for those sharing online, and those in the sanctuary will be invited to come forward to light their own candles. We begin lighting a candle for all our concerns for the larger world. Our wish for peace and justice, our hopes for the children who will inherit this planet. May this candle represent all these wishes and calls to action that are more than we could possibly articulate in this space. And now let us share the personal joys and sorrows in our lives. From Peter, a sorrow on March 11th, Alejandro Campo Rios was killed in an officer-involved shooting. Peter is really saddened by what has happened and prays that there would be more kindness and respect for those who are experiencing homelessness. Thank you, Peter. A joy from Randy Hattrick. My daughter Allison has a baby boy due today. Welcome whenever, Anthony. Here's a sorrow from Mike and Catherine. We mourn the passing of our son's girlfriend's father. and a joy from Nosi. I hope I'm saying that right. My great nephew will come tonight. He'll stay with us 1 week. The last time I saw him was 20 years ago. He is 27 now, and I am excited to know him. We now light one more candle for all those joys, concerns, and sorrows that remain unexpressed but are still held close to our hearts. Please join me in saying the affirmation. We join you in celebrating your joys. May you feel our love and compassion for your sorrows and concerns, for all that is spoken and unspoken. May the caring of our beloved community sustain us all.
Let us now move into the spirit of meditation, reflection, and prayer. You may close your eyes, take a deep breath, whatever helps you to center. The eternal spirit, we witness green growth growing out of tiny trindles seeking support. Sprouting twin twigs reaching for the bright golden sun, guiding new timbers and tubers seeking water in dark sandy soil. Be in and amongst us this Easter morning. We gather this morning to celebrate the triumph of life over death. The body can be killed, but the spirit cannot be quenched. Today, we are renewed and inspired as we remember that pain, suffering, death are not ends, but can be scary underground passageways to more abundant life. If we have the courage to face our fear and crawl through, to be pushed and pulled by the mind-narrowing forces of lust, hate, and confusion. This morning, we renew our dedication to act from our love rather than our fear. We renew our faith in the inherent dignity and worth of all humanity, including ourselves, which cannot be removed from anyone, and seek the nerve to face the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune which may come our way. In our moments of defeat and surrender, may we turn away from the paths of revenge, denial, and cynicism. May we remember the eternal truth spun into the web of life. Our wounds can become sacred incarnational teachings of the wisdom embedded in the story of resurrection. Let us celebrate together this morning the one who never gives up even in the darkest night of winter, our blue-green planet Earth, resurrected anew each spring. When some people think of Easter, they think of a bunny rabbit. Others would point out other fertility symbols and signs of spring, springing forth out of the ordinary, the plain, the seemingly dead, butterflies, flowers, and the like. Christians might think of the empty cross or of a cross with flowers on it, the instrument of shameful death transformed into something else. But in the midst of all those other things, I think about the stone. Not as a symbol of resurrection itself, but as a means of reminding us to open ourselves to the journey, to persevere with the understanding and knowing and embracing that life-changing, world-shifting, reality-jolting event. We are resurrected. If we want to persist with the Easter Bunny, perhaps in addition to jelly beans and fertility symbols, the Easter Bunny might start delivering geodes. Stones that look like one thing, plain enough, right? But on closer inspection and with a bit of perseverance and some hard knocks, and it reveals an entire and more glorious dimension, multiple dimensions. The stone in the Easter story reminds us that there is more going on in this resurrection event than any of us can grasp or understand, for that matter. The stone reminds us that with God, the divine, that internal spark that we all hold, that possibilities are available to us beyond our logic, beyond our wisdom, beyond our puny known worlds. The stone reminds us that in the midst of death, we are alive. Alleluia.
First of all, I'd like to thank Megan Smock for helping with some of these readings that we have every week. So thank you to Megan for that. One Easter weekend, I was probably 8. My sister was 5, and we were around the dinner table talking about the Easter story. I'll never forget when my sister asked my parents, well, what did Jesus say when he left the tomb? That was a new one. My parents looked at one another confused. I think my mom or dad said something to the effect of, he didn't need to say much of anything, Kim. Yet I piped up saying, Mom, Dad, I know what he said. I know what Jesus said. And my parents reluctantly invited their little magician to answer, and I stood up from the kitchen table smiling widely, saying, when Jesus escaped from the tomb, the first thing he said was, ta-da! So proud of me. Last week, we explored Judaism and Passover. Next week, you will be introduced to one of my favorite professors in interreligious dialogue, and she's a chaplain and a Muslim who will tell some of her story and talk about her story. She's from the Altadena, Pasadena area. Her story of getting through tragedies. So you're getting a tour of the Abrahamic religions over the 3-week period. As a Unitarian Universalist congregation with many faiths, I invite us to look at the Passover story. We did that, and we read between the lines. And I invited you to see if any of the parts of the story resonated with you. Was there any wisdom that you gleaned from it? I've already heard from some of you, and that means you listen, which is really cool. Some have said that you have felt at times like you've been lost in the desert, and that last week's sermon encouraged you to think about the faith it would take for you to make an exodus from something that you are in that is painful to something unknown. I heard deep conversations in the Chapman Lounge, in the hallway. I like that. So we're going to do the same with the Easter story this morning. Now, when working in Christian churches, I have asked congregants about where they see themselves in the Easter weekend story. Answers included they've been stuck in the tomb. Others said safe in the tomb. That's deep. Some felt torn apart and crucified by the world. And some are in places of transformation and resurrection. With the way the world is right now, just holding on and hiding in the tomb, I don't know about you, but seems appropriate sometimes. The Easter holiday is about renewal and resurrection, that love wins and has the final word. It goes deeper than that. Easter is about the transformative power of hope and love, where we die personally or collectively to old, ineffective, or damaging ways, where love changes the heart, a transformation with a new way of being and living and serving. The message of Easter says that our suffering isn't in vain. Because the truth is, we cannot eliminate suffering in this world. So what do? If you've gone to counseling, you know we make meaning of it. Suffering provides wisdom. It provides a new perspective. And suffering leads to enlightenment and transformation. And not just personally, but collectively. I spoke with a trauma survivor this past week about the meaning of Holy Week and suffering. We were trying to find the hope in suffering, and he said something profound. He said, suffering leads to the possibility of deeper connections. You think about those in the foxholes in war and those deep connections that come out of that. Deeper relationships can flourish, where empathy creates the strongest bonds. The pain, the trauma, that's the pain of the crucifixion. The healing and transformation, that's the tomb. And then when we use the empathy from trauma to connect with others and it leads to healing, that's the miracle. That's the resurrection faith. You know, the example of butterflies and their journeys from caterpillar to chrysalis, some people say cocoons, but I was corrected on that. From chrysalis to butterfly has always been a powerful illustration of the story of Easter. Some people think it dumbs it down, but I disagree. If you look at what happens when a caterpillar enters the chrysalis, it gets gross and goopy. Pretty cool. Once the caterpillar is encapsulated, it releases a bunch of enzymes to digest itself. The caterpillar begins to dissolve into something that has the consistency of soup. Its skin, its eyes, its organs, its brain, its nervous system, the stuff that made it who it was, is slimy soup. But within that liquid mass are the blueprints for what comes next. The blueprints for its legs, its eyes, its wings, and more were held together in these tiny clusters of cells that were present within the caterpillar before it was even born. Once its old self finally breaks down, those blueprints use the protein-rich soup. I know, maybe I shouldn't go with that anymore. But that soup becomes something new. In one sense, the creature that comes out on the other side is completely different from what came before. Yet some studies have shown how a butterfly somehow remembers what they learned and experienced as a caterpillar. The old life, the suffering, the crawling, the lessons from the past, they don't disappear. And what that means is we do not go through those in vain. So this morning, while we enjoy flowers and bonnets and visuals of butterflies and Easter bunnies with a time of renewal, I'd invite you to focus more on the transformation part. Not just the physical and visual resort, but what made Jesus' story was his future held together every moment from the past. The Gospels explain what it was like for the disciples to see their Messiah resurrected. The holes were still in his hands, and the hole in his side were still there. So what is this saying? In between the lines, he stayed wounded, carrying with him everything that came before, the sorrow, the joys, the love, the things he had done, and the things that were done to him. All that remained, because a resurrection can't happen without there first being a life that was actually lived. Those trauma survivors in this room know what I'm talking about. Your story, exactly as it is, with all the stuff you've done and all the stuff that has been done to you, isn't the whole story. It's also not your goodness, your happiness, your faithfulness, your comfort, or even your successes that bring you into the vivid beauty of a resurrected future. You, as well as your friends, your family, your neighbors, and even those strangers you never meet, carry within you a blueprint made in love. I want to introduce you to a verb this morning. The verb is resurrecting. It's a verb meaning practicing resurrection. So I invite you, in the midst of the pain in this world, maybe to meditate or pray on this word. Because it is a verb. How? Let's go through the list. Practice resurrecting by refusing to identify with negative or fearful thoughts. I mean, you can't stop having them, but you don't have to give in to them all the time. Practice resurrecting now by apologizing when you hurt another person. Practice resurrecting now by undoing your mistakes with positive actions toward the offended persons or situations. Practice resurrecting now by always seeking to change yourself before trying to change others. Serenity prayer. Practice resurrecting now by choosing as much as possible to serve rather than to be served. Finally, practice resurrecting now by never doubting that it is all about love in the end. It's about love, but it's also about dying to the ways of the world, unlearning. Because the ways of the world, I don't know about you, but they're not working. And so, as we live a resurrected life, we live it alive, filled with love, and ready to meet the challenges of this world by blessing and loving one person at a time. Scott McClellan wrote in UU World that we need to be open to resurrection, looking up, not down, listening, not stopping up our ears, tasting before we swallow, smelling the flowers, not passing them by, feeling deeply rather than numbing ourselves with the daily routine. As another Unitarian Universalist minister, the Reverend Dr. Richard Gilbert, wrote, "A tomb is no place to stay. When each morning announces our reprieve, and we know we are granted yet another day of living. A tomb is no place to stay when life laughs a welcome to hearts which have been away too long." You know, in so many churches this morning, the message will be focused on whether the resurrection of Jesus actually happened or not. Focusing just on that part of the Easter message, and that does such a disservice to this story. There's so much wisdom and so many lessons in each of these stories. Whether it's Passover last week, Easter this week, or what Professor Najiba Saeed speaks of next week. There's so much wisdom and so many lessons in between the lines. So did a miracle occur? Reverend Robert Hardy's of All Souls Unitarian Church in Washington, D.C. has a really good answer. He says, "As I see it, my job on Easter Sunday is not to convince you that the resurrection happened, but to remind you that it does happen. The way I look at it, each and every one of us in this room this morning is proof positive of the resurrection. For whom among us doesn't have a story to tell, a very personal story of rebirth, of emerging from the tomb of depression or despair, pain or addiction? Who among us can't point to a time in our lives when all seemed lost? And then suddenly, hope returned. You are witness to your very own resurrections. What other proof do you need?"
We at UUCF, we embrace the possibility of a world filled with peace, acceptance, justice, love, and joy. Our financial commitment, we help this congregation by our financial commitment through its maintenance, mission, and ministries. Make those possibilities real in a changing world. A basket is being brought around the sanctuary, or there are payment options on the screens. Whatever you are able to give is received with gratitude. We thank you for your commitment and your generosity.
For our closing hymn, we'll be singing Easter Parade by Irvin Berlin. Please rise in mind, body, or spirit and join us in singing.
Hi, I will be your caring listener for today. So you can speak with me after service if you have anything that you need to release, talk about, and you just want to be listened to and trust. Everything is always confidential.
I have a question for you. What is a rotogravoo?
I'm going to be good and not answer.
Okay. Mark? Oh, okay. Wonderful. Okay. I still don't know what it is, but thank you. A printing press. There we go. I'm going to invite you to join hands together. There is a political historian named Heather Cox Richardson. How many of you follow her? Oh, yeah. This past week, she was speaking about the necessary ingredients needed for fascism to win. Those would be anger and fear. Just in time for Easter, she invited her followers to meet this moment with a resistance of peace and love and joy. Those are the ingredients that are needed in order to fight and win. And this congregation is ready to fight. Amen. We now extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts wherever we may go. And so we say together, Amen, Shalom, Salam, Namaste, and blessed be.